Today, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected a theory posed by North Carolina Republican leaders that could have transformed elections nationwide.
Alyssa Hebner breaks down the ruling and spoke with two different election advocacy groups. She joins us live in studio with the details. Alyssa?
Today's decision by the Supreme Court rules that state courts can continue to act as a check on their legislators in redistricting and other issues affecting federal elections. On Tuesday, the justices, by a 6-3 vote, upheld a decision by North Carolina's top court that struck down a congressional districting plan as excessively partisan under state law.
Today's decision is, I think, a little anticlimactic for a lot of folks.
We are very happy. We think, again, this is a great ruling for the people of North Carolina and everyone who believes in a sound, fair democracy.
It's a topic that has been debated for a while after the North Carolina Supreme Court ruled that the 2020 legislative maps drawn by the GOP leaders were unconstitutional because of the racial gerrymandering. Those legislative leaders took the argument to the Supreme Court last December. They argued that the General Assembly alone should determine how elections are held.
Our state Supreme Court has said, look, this is a political question, and the legislature, other than very specific constitutional provisions and federal law, legislature gets to draw the maps without it going to court.
Opponents of that idea, which is also known as the independent legislator theory, argue that the ruling could have impacted hundreds of election laws and provisions nationwide.
This is not a partisan issue. Everybody should want maps that are fair and not rigged to benefit one political party over the other.
Justices Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, and Neil Gorsuch say they would have dismissed the case because the North Carolina Supreme Court is under a new Republican majority and has already undone the previous court's redistricting ruling. That means this ruling will actually have a minimal impact in North Carolina now, since Republicans are still able to redraw districting lines ahead of the 2024 election. In its ruling, the U.S. Supreme Court did suggest, however, that there could be limits on state court efforts to police elections for Congress and the president. Courtney, Dave.
All right, thanks, Alyssa. And another redistricting case from Ohio is currently pending if the justices want to say more about the issue before next year's election. And here's what North Carolina House Speaker Tim Moore had to say about the ruling. He said, quote, today this U.S. Supreme Court has determined that state courts may rule on questions of state law even if it has an impact on federal elections law. Fortunately, the current Supreme Court of North Carolina has rectified bad precedent from the previous majority, reaffirming the state constitutional authority of the NC General Assembly. We will continue to move forward with the redistricting process later this year, end quote.